Jags on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Just saw two tweets that kind of sum up everything going on in 2020. Christian Brewy, our friend down in Orlando, has this from Danny White, athletic director at UCF, says that the number one criteria he is looking for as possible non-conference opponents is, quote, testing protocol. Not strength of schedule, not money, testing protocol.
I like that.
And Brett McMurphy says UConn coach Randy Edsall on canceling season. This is pretty powerful here. Now, we don't know if it would have been true, but, quote, if I was in a Power 5 or Group of 5 conference, I'd be saying the same thing. I'd be doing the same thing because these young men's lives are more important than money. Well,
you're a basketball school, though, too.
That's what UConn is saying after they canceled the football season. And they've kind of been a mess up there at UConn a bit. So Randy Edsall, who, by the way, used to be a coach on the Jaguar staff back in the day, now at UConn, and they're canceling the season. So that's some of the fresh stuff out. NCAA coming out with some big news and at least some growth and steps. I'm sure people say, is it enough? All those things. There's critics of everything the NCAA does, but opt-outs are a possibility for college kids with a little bit of a parachute. We'll get into that as well.
Talking about UConn, and they're the first school to kind of opt out of playing football this year, and we'll see if it's going to be an extended period of time or not, if they're just completely done with their football program now. We'll see what happens there. But what is it right now about the Upper East Coast, let's just call it, when you have teams like New England who have so many guys choose to opt out in the NFL, and now you have UConn who's shutting down their football program? What does the Northeast know right now that we don't know?
Well, my first thought goes to, just because of the nature of it, when up in New England, I would say it's highly on the liberal side. Democrat. Votes highly Democratic, I think. At least I know Rhode Island does. I think Massachusetts it leans that way. So and New York is definitely that way. So I think maybe it's based in some respect that way. And I don't want to listen. I know everybody else is doing that and politicizing it. I don't really want to be the guy doing that. But I just say, if you're asking me what's the common denominator, potentially up there, are they smarter than everybody else? No, I don't think so. But are their views maybe a little bit different than some say here in the South? Well, they vote that way. Let's just say that.
Gotcha.
So maybe. I don't know. That's the only thing I could put my finger on. Or it just might be pure coincidence. I mean, UConn has struggled a little bit, and they're now independent. They don't belong. They don't have to. They can do almost whatever they want. New England might just be in the perfect spot. They get veteran guys in there. They might have just a coincidence of all these situations, from Marquise Lee with a newborn to whoever else. I don't know the answer to that concretely, but that would just be my speculation, at least for the moment, because kind of that's where my mind wanders all the time after when I look at things, social media or sometimes decision-making, and sometimes that's reality, sometimes it is not. Josh Allen, Brandon Linder talked to the media today. Some interesting things, because Josh Allen's being asked second year in to be the star of this team. I mean, he might already be the star of this team, but he's being asked. I mean, Gardner Minshew's being asked to do that too. DJ Chark, there are some other guys being asked to be the star of the team. But no doubt Josh Allen's being asked to be the star of the team. There's a high ceiling, many people believe, for Josh Allen.
Well, and arguably right now you can say that Josh Allen is probably the best player on this team going into his second year already.
ESPN did a who's most likely to make the Hall of Fame from each team. Jags don't have a slam dunk candidate, but they went with most likely, would be in the running, which was like a 40 to 69% chance, I think is how they broke it down.
Okay.
They put Josh Allen.
Dang.
Because I think it was D-Rock who wrote it, but I think the reasoning was, I want to say 27 players he looked at that had those kind of numbers, where he was drafted and rookie. Well, 11 of them have gone on to Canton. So it's actually a bit of a trend. If I interpreted that correctly. So anyway, Josh Allen, no doubt, being asked to be a star. And I think he looks like he's embracing it and accepts that. And he knows that. And I've said this about Josh Allen since the day we met him in Nashville for the draft. That was the day before the draft. And then obviously Jags pick him. And we do the whole thing, and you don't get a big chance to meet him. But then 2 days later, actually, it was the next day here in Jacksonville, we see him out there on the field, and we're doing our show a day after he got drafted. And then consistently, my view of Josh Allen has been, what a mature young man. You know, doesn't feel like a rookie. And he's done nothing really. I mean, now listen, he can be kind of that playful side of a young man, you know, no doubt. But I just feel like there's a maturity about him. He feels like he's been in the league 6 or 7 years. He feels like he's in his lower 30s than he does in his early to mid 20s. And I like that about him. And I think with this football team, the way they're built, they need those guys. They need some of those. They're asking some of those guys to mature quickly, be leaders quickly, especially with no Calais Campbell, possibly no Yannick Ngakoue and others.
Well, and listen, and to me, this stems from one thing, and that's the fact that he is a family man. Okay, I mean, yeah, sure. I think he likes to have fun like any football player in that locker room, especially a young football player. Is, you know, like, I mean, there's going to be some jokes thrown around, and there's going to be some lightheartedness, as there should be, because that kind of breaks up the, you know, just the dog days of summer, if you will, of training camp. So I know Josh Allen has that to him as well. But in terms of how he approaches his craft, how he approaches the business of football, I believe that mentality, that personality stems directly from being a family man. And when we say he's wise beyond his years, well, yeah, I think he's trying to set a good example, for he's got one kid, right? Or two kids now?
Now two.
Yeah, so his two kids, and obviously his wife. So I think it's very rare to get a guy like that right off the bat. Usually guys grow into that kind of role. Obviously, you got him from college, kind of already with that kind of mindset and mentality. And that's a big get to have, because obviously you lose guys like Calais Campbell, A.J. Boye, now even Al Woods opted out. You lose a lot of that veteran leadership, that experience. Well, now you have to lean on the younger guys, and at least some of your quote-unquote younger guys are a little more wise or mature beyond their years.
I said that with a whole bunch of confidence that he has two kids. I think, let me go back and say, I think he now has two kids, two little kids.
Okay.
And I really jumped at that and said it with a bunch of confidence, but I do think that is the case.
All right.
He had one at draft day, obviously the little guy, and I'm pretty sure they just had one. In fact, I feel like he had one right around the time where this other time we saw Josh Allen was at the Monster Jam.
Yeah.
Like back in February.
Yep.
And I think he either had just had a newborn or they were having a newborn like within days of that. Oh, gosh, I want to say. It's been a long 2020, though.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Who you telling, dude?
Hey, we're going to have some fun today. Max Kellerman about to join us in just a little bit. One other thought on the Jags that we'll get to. We usually start with Jags, go a little deeper dive into some of these topics, but Max Kellerman is going to join us in just about 5 minutes or so, and so we'll start there here on a Wednesday, and then we'll get back into some of these Jags topics. But the offensive line is always a fun one for me because I think the outside world hates the Jags offensive line, has hated it, always hates it. It doesn't matter. I think I say this all the time. I think every fan base hates their offensive line. I just think it's the way it is. I mean, maybe Dallas a couple years ago, they were like, yeah, we think it's a strength. But this Jags offensive line has a lot to prove. I thought Brandon Linder talked about a guy who's matured over the years now, and he's leaned on that. People lean on him that way. He's been a captain, but coming off a year where it was obviously a very good year, in part because he stayed healthy, you could sense like he's taken more command of this football team. What he had to say about the offensive line was interesting, as you look at it in a couple ways. One, regarding penalties last year and some of the struggles they did have, but two, what he likes about their football team and their offensive line. And that's on the heels of Doug Marrone on Monday once again saying, and not afraid to say it, kind of, I'm paraphrasing, we like our offensive line more than you like our offensive line.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting story developing. And I got this question a little bit later on. You don't have to answer it right now. In show homework, though, does the season really... And I don't want to say season from a Super Bowl to a number one draft pick kind of swing, but you'll understand the nature of the question. Does the season not necessarily hinge as much on Gardner Minshew, but hinge on the offensive line success and the offensive line play and the gamble they did take in free agency, in the draft, to not go get more help and say we like what we have? I wonder that. I thought about that today, and how much is it more about the offensive line so they can do all the things they want to do with Minshew and with some of the other weapons that they have on offense? Could the entire season really hinge on that? Because we've said it before, the offense really has to be one of the strengths of this football team coming up in 2020. We're going to take a quick time out. We come back. Max Kellerman joins us from ESPN. He's got a new show starting up on August 17th. Obviously spends a lot of time debating Stephen A. Smith as well. We'll have some fun with Max Kellerman when we come back. Action Sports Jacks on ESPN at 6:90 here on a Wednesday. Hope you're doing well, Jacksonville and beyond. Thanks for hanging out with us on ESPN 690 in your car, on ESPN690.com on the stream, or on multiple platforms, including the video, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. We'll be right back here on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the first alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Another hot and humid day, and keep an eye on the sky with some scattered afternoon and early evening storms. Highs today in the 90s. Join me beginning at 5 p.m. for CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jacks from the First Alert Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds, where for a limited time, you can get 5 years, zero interest financing. Security experts recommend that if you have a do-it-yourself alarm, don't use their alarm signs or stickers. Why? Because it tells crooks exactly which system you have, and some signals can be jammed with a common garage door opener. Yes, the equipment is built that cheap. It's not been tested by UL Laboratories, and the DIY company selling it has no license. They use a third party. It just doesn't measure up. That's why thousands of business owners and families trust SafeTouch Security. All SafeTouch systems are custom designed for each installation and installed by state-certified technicians and are covered by a lifetime warranty. The SafeTouch two-way communicator provides the fastest possible response time with an 8-second average. All monitoring is done from the SafeTouch 24-hour monitoring center, giving you peace of mind for you and your family. SafeTouch Security has been protecting you and your family like no one else for 35 years. Go to safetouch.com today for a free home consultation. State license number EF0000233.
I call them 3 shirt days. That's when the summer heat in Jacksonville just sizzles. It's relentless, and you want to be prepared for it. Bold City Heating and Air will help you do that. Nothing worse than sweating in your own home and wondering, hey, what happened to the AC? We've been there before. Your air conditioning unit needs to be ready for the heat. It might need to get serviced. The hot weather is here, and Bold City Heating and Air is here for you, just like they have been for my family the last couple of years. Right now, it's $25 off an annual maintenance. Bold City will thoroughly service, clean, and test your system to ensure it is working efficiently. Then you'll be comfortable this summer, all summer. After the $25 off, it's just $70. Book your maintenance service now and save. Save now, beat the heat. Visit boldcityac.com or call 904-379-1648 to schedule. Mirza and his staff are ready to take care of you and your family. Be bold and beat the heat and make it a one-shirt day, even in the summer heat. Go to boldcityac.com.
After a car accident, you can feel like you've lost control. I'm Glenn Levine from the law offices of Anajar and Levine. Our team can help you understand your legal options after an accident. We will file your claim and fight for the full compensation you deserve. If you've been involved in a car accident, call the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000 for a free consultation and take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville. The summer shower of savings continue. Right now at Beard's Diamonds, get 5 years, zero interest, plus no money down on any purchase.
This is the best deal of the summer.
Take advantage of Beard's lowest prices in North Florida on diamonds.
How about a $6,000 Tacori or Veragio ring? You pay just $100 a month. Or a pair of diamond studs for $3,000? You pay just $50 a month.
Come in, see the difference. Save thousands.
Beard's Diamonds, located at the St. John's Town Center.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Hope you catch the show Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. But if you can't catch it, or if you want to go back and listen again, check out the Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 podcast. Just search ESPN 690 in your podcast app.
Hey everyone, Jawan Taylor here, University of Florida, and you're watching Action Sports Jacks. Go Gators. I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't. You know, my family's first, man. It's something I don't want to put my family in jeopardy of any harm that I, bring to them. So that was always, something that I, kept close to me. But, Kate, my wife, she really encouraged me to, to keep playing football this year, man, because she knows what I'm striving for in my career. And she's real helpful. She's doing her best to keep the kids inside the house and keep them busy until I get home and I got to take over. So, I have a great support system, great support staff in my house, and, I'm just here to stay safe, man, and hope everybody, my teammates, do the same thing.
That is Jaguars pass rusher, defensive end, Josh Allen. Used to refer to him as the good Josh Allen. Now other people think that the other Josh Allen's pretty good, too. And you just said, by the way, you said kids plural, so confirming what I thought he has, 2 kids.
Multiple kids confirmed.
I will say this, too. Cool thing, I love the honesty right there from Josh Allen. He was asked, did he think about sitting out and opting out?
Yeah.
And he said, I'd be lying if I didn't cross my mind. And obviously had those kind of discussions. I think it's easy to say, no way, I was coming in.
Well, but listen, I think, as a parent and – even as a husband, it would be pretty irresponsible if you said, I didn't think of it at all. When you got 2 young kids, obviously you have to consider their needs as well. So, I'm not surprised that he said that. I'm glad that he said it. He was very transparent. And I think some guys, obviously, like you said, would have kind of beat around the bush a little bit. But, yeah, I'd expect nothing less from Josh Allen. Yeah,
and listen, he's a young dad, too. So it's to have it's easy to say, hey, my first priority is go play football, get a check, and care for my family, and not think about all those other things. I think once again shows his maturity in all of that. I'll give you a little story here. We looked into we'll do Jaguars All Access once again this year on the TV side. It's going to be on Thursday nights. And prior to the pandemic, looked into even having Josh Allen on the show. And this will show you from a family standpoint. He had the newborn this year. He's got 2 kids. And that was really one of the prevailing factors for him to say, yeah, I'd like to look into it down the road, but I just don't think the timing's good right now. Mm-hmm. And so it shows you where some of his priorities are at. And not that Jaguars All Access probably on everybody's high priority list from a Jag standpoint. But I thought even that, like it just, there's some little things about Josh Allen that add up. Mm-hmm. And now it's how much of a star will he be? And I think he's got a chance to be a big star. But does this year go to tell a lot about Josh Allen? Because no Calais, potentially no Ngakoue. And people right now, if you did anything on the Jags defense over the last few years, it was like, well, because you had this guy and this guy and this guy. And for the pass rushers, it's, well, even for Jan, it's, well, Calais was there or Josh Allen was there. Josh Allen now has a chance to do it by himself.
Well, and this is the issue that I have, right? Because if you look at great pass rushers all around the league, even the past decade, you'll see one thing. They have other guys that are in the supporting roles, right? Like even J.J. Watt had somebody. Josh Allen last year had Yannick Ngakoue. Josh Allen last year had Calais Campbell. And when you have multiple guys that teams have to worry about, well, then obviously you have to game plan around those guys. So it wasn't like Josh Allen was seeing a lot of double teams last year. Now, he saw some of them. But I'm just saying this year right now, with the Jaguars offensive line, I see Josh Allen and I see – that's about it right now. Yeah. Okay? That's all I see. So with that being said, a lot of attention will be commanded on Josh Allen this year, and it's going to be very telling to see if he can handle that pressure and produce. It reminds me a lot like Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, doesn't matter if he's getting double-teamed, triple-teamed, Aaron Donald's going to get his because he's that talented of a player. I think even Khalil Mack is that talented of a player, even though his production went down last year due to some of the supporting cast around him. Can Josh Allen, I guess, copy off of last year a little bit, even improve off last year's numbers? It's going to be tough, but we'll see.
Yeah, and if he does it, then we can start putting him in the category maybe of a Khalil Mack. We think he's that kind of athletic freak, no doubt about it. Brent Martineau, former Jags player, Austin Lane here on Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 here in Jacksonville in Northeast Florida. And let's welcome to the show part of the new lineup coming up on ESPN across the country on August 17th, 2 to 4 p.m. It will be the Max Kellerman Show, and Max Kellerman joins us right now. How about a little bonus first take kind of action for you, or at least get you going on the radio side a couple of weeks in advance, Max? Love him or leave him? Gardner Minshew here in Jacksonville. What do you have to say about it?
If I'm presented with those 2 choices, I got to leave him. I think he's a nice quarterback. I don't know if he's I think he's proven he can play at starter level. I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback.
All right, we get you going. How you doing, man? You looking forward to this show coming up in a couple weeks?
I am, and you guys left out the Bosa brothers. I totally agree with you about Khalil Mack, but I think the Bosa brothers are right there too.
It's a great call.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of people around the country probably aren't talking about Josh Allen just yet down here. Not the quarterback, but the pass rusher. But this guy had 10.5 sacks last year. He is an athletic freak, a mature guy. We're really looking forward to seeing what he has to do to see if he could join the ranks of those kind of pass rushers.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, coming out, you knew that guy was going to be a stud. You know, where did he go? I'm trying to remember his draft position.
Number 7. Number 7. He slipped. The Jags landed. He slipped to the Jags. It was perfect
because the Giants took Daniel Jones, and I was someone I like Daniel Jones. Now I still have questions about him. I think he has good upside, but I was definitely someone who was like, "Are the Giants kidding? You can get Daniel Jones. You have multiple first-round picks. You get Daniel Jones later in the first round. Grab Josh Allen. What are you doing? He's like there was an embarrassment of riches still starting with him. So, yeah, you guys got a great player who probably should not have gone as low as 7.
And not only that, the break I think the Jags got to create the domino of the Giants taking Jones, because they might have anyway, is Farrell, who went to Oakland. And look, that was an overdraft at the time, but it looks like he's performing pretty well for the Raiders.
Yeah, right. Like, at the time we all have our opinions, and then we see who actually performs. The bottom line is you got to get to the quarterback. Even though I know the secondary is much more important now, and you can have all-time great defenses, without, it doesn't have to be as much about the defensive end as it used to be, or the linebacker, or even in some instances the defensive tackle. You want that secondary player who can shut down the passing game, because that vertical threat is all what it's about nowadays. But you still got to get pressure on the quarterback. You're not going to be successful if you don't.
Max, it's funny that you brought up Daniel Jones, because my co-host here, Brent Martineau, might have been the biggest Daniel Jones supporter coming out of the Senior Bowl, even to the point where I thought his agent was actually paying him to try to promote Daniel Jones so much because, we didn't really need a quarterback at the time. So it's funny that you bring up Daniel Jones, but I want to talk about an older quarterback real quick, a guy that you kind of commented about before, and that's Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady has exceeded expectations of how long of a career he's had. He's in Tampa Bay right now, and obviously the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the hottest topic. They're the hottest thing right now going in the NFL. And, regardless of what you think about Tom Brady's skill set, the question that I always circle back on, and the question that I really can't answer truthfully right now where I sit today, did Tom Brady need Bill Belichick more than Bill Belichick needed Tom Brady? Or is it the other way around?
No doubt about it. Look, baseball is a game of GMs, right? It's not that the players aren't important. They absolutely are. But you want to have a great franchise, get the best GM in baseball. Basketball is a game of players. The best teams have to have the best. Like, you have to have an MVP level player, preferably 2. Football is a game of coaches. The coach is the number one determining factor for a team. Now, of course, you need a quarterback. And ideally, the quarterback is an extension of the coach on the field. So in certain ways, you can't separate them. And that goes for any sport. You look at Popovich with Tim Duncan. Duncan was Popovich on the court. You look at Joe Torre with Derek Jeter. Same thing. And Tom Brady was Belichick on the field. So obviously, Belichick does not have the same level of success without Tom Brady. But forget about what he did in Cleveland. Oh, what's his record without Tom Brady? And then you want to count Cleveland. He took a terrible Cleveland team, got them to the playoffs before they fell apart, and he was a rookie head coach. Then, with that experience, he went to New England where he had stability. What happened then? His record, he wins more than twice as much as he loses as head coach without Tom Brady. So, of course, there's a drop-off when he has Matt Castle instead of Tom Brady. But he won 11 games that season, 10 of them with Matt Castle as his starter. He's a great coach. Tom Brady last year, and this is not an insult, he was a game manager who could be big on third down. Like, you can win a Super Bowl that way. Even in the Super Bowl, that's what he was. 2 years ago, they changed the team. There wasn't the same vertical threat. You had the tight end that he trusted, and you had a running game and a great defense. And he won the lowest scoring Super Bowl in the history of the NFL, and that in an offensive era, right? He was just better than Goff, who was not good. So he did that with Brady 2 years ago. It's always been more. And then when you consider Belichick is also the GM. So to me, it's been a no-brainer. It's not that Brady wasn't a really important part of it. and that Belichick could have won 6 Super Bowls without Tom Brady. He wouldn't have. But if you have to give one or the other more credit, in football, it is the coach.
Max Kellerman with us. The Max Kellerman Show starts up August 17th, ESPN all across the country, right here in Jacksonville on ESPN 690. You know, we talk about the climb of athletes. I like kind of talking about the climb of folks in our profession, and Max Kellerman's joining us right now. From boxing to verbal punches daily with Stephen A. Smith on First Take, and one of the most unique shows we have in our industry. And now to your own radio show. The climb has probably been an interesting one and a fun one. What's the radio show going to be like?
Well, I did the Max Kellerman Show in New York for a bunch of years. I did Max and Marcellus with Marcellus Wiley in L.A. for almost 6 years. We did the afternoon drive. And the radio is not a lot like First Take. The radio is not a hot take show. There will be hot takes. There'll be takes. There'll be arguments and debates. And, you know, it's a sports show. But if you like talking mostly about sports, come hang out with your boy for a little while. That's the Max Kellerman Show. That's the show. And if anyone wants to know what it's going to sound like, you can go on YouTube and check out Max and Marcellus, and they'll still have clips up there. And that's more or less what it's going to sound like.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of success in that genre, too. Let me ask you about this. Because people now know Max Kellerman from First Take, is it hard to differentiate yourself as you move back to the radio side?
I don't know, time will tell, but I started in the business in '98 out of college on Friday Night Fights. Then I was the original host of Around the Horn, and then left ESPN to do a show, IMAX, on Fox Sports Net, and boxing on HBO, which I did for years, and ESPN Radio. Then I went to MSNBC, then CNN, and now back to ESPN, where I did Sports Nation, and now First Take. So the fact of the matter is, like I'll talk to people who I remember the Around the Horn days used to mute Woody Page, and or I loved you on the air with Marcellus if I'm walking around somewhere in L.A. or the old Max Kellerman Show if I'm in New York, or boxing because of HBO boxing. But right now at this moment, what people clearly know me for, insofar as they do know me, is you're the guy who argues with Stephen A. Smith on TV all the time. That's me.
Max, a little thing about me. So I used to play for the Jaguars, and now I'm a current professional MMA fighter, but I grew up with MMA, and I grew up with boxing. So I'm a diehard boxing fan. I've been that way since I was a kid. And I'd be remiss, since I have you on the line right now, if we didn't talk a little bit about the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. matchup here coming up. And obviously, when you have Mike Tyson, he's the household name, right? Whether it's from his knockouts, his video games, his movies, he's got cartoons, he's in wrestling now. Like, the guy's everywhere, and he's still as popular as
Shark
ever.
Week.
Shark Week coming up. And you got Roy Jones Jr., who, in my opinion, every boxer growing up tried to be like, but they couldn't copy him. They couldn't copy his style, his in-ring. They couldn't copy his skill set. They couldn't copy his in-ring demeanor, let's just say, okay? So he's a very intriguing fighter, to say the least. I like this matchup, and I'm going to tune in to watch it for sure. But here's my issue with this whole thing. The undercard, you have a guy by the name of Jake Paul and another gentleman by the name of Nate Robinson. Jake Paul, a YouTuber, Nate Robinson, a former NBA player. They're on the undercard. They're getting promotion right now for this Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. fight. And here's what I'm sick and tired of, Max. I'm sick and tired of, you have these young, talented guys. You have the Ryan Garcias. You have the Shakir Stevensons out there who are just waiting to get their shot to get put on the big stage and showcase their skills, and instead you go with Jake Paul and Nate Robinson. Is this fight more of a detriment to boxing than it's actually helping out boxing?
Well, first of all, whether or not it's detrimental to boxing probably is determined by the result. But I'll be watching, and they could almost charge anything, and I'm going to watch. Oh, it's just a sparring session. All right, Roy Jones and Mike Tyson, they'd be 100 years old sparring. I'm going to watch.
Sure.
And I'll pay for it. I would say that no one puts you on the big stage, really. You got to put yourself there. You have to connect with fans and grow a fan base. And boxers should not begrudge Jake Paul or whomever from being able to generate interest in them. You know, like boxing has always been about athletic competition, no question, but also about the connection a fighter has with an audience. You know, that's who puts the meat in the seats, as they used to say. That's part of the game. And you know, you can't sit there and complain, well, this guy's getting attention, that guy's getting attention. Jake Paul didn't have some big promoter behind him getting attention. He pumped himself up. Now, a fighter might say, yeah, because he's loud or he does this, I don't want to act the clown and da-da-da-da. Okay, fine, but that's on you. And who says you can only have to act the clown or you know, it's like a clown is like, sounds insulting. You have to have a big personality or say negative things about people. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. There are other ways to do it also. But the bottom line is you have to grow your audience. And that largely has to do in the fight game with the personality of the fighter, not just the kind of athletic quality of the fighter. And boxing suffers because unlike MMA, where Dana White has the UFC in a dominant market position, and most importantly, in that position in the imaginations of the public. Like if UFC is used interchangeably with MMA in the United States, right?
Correct.
It means the brand means the sport itself. That's not the case in boxing, but because it is in the UFC, you know, you're in a much better. That's a promotional outfit, really, just like Top Rank or the Golden Boy, or it is a promotional outfit. But it's considered the promotional outfit, the way MLB or NFL or NBA is, or NHL is. And so Dana is in a much better position to promote his athletes and also deliver the consumer product that people want to see more quickly and efficiently than we are in boxing. So, you know, if you're a boxer, you have to figure out a way. You can't just rely on your promoter putting you on. You have to figure out a way to connect with an audience.
Well, and let's be honest here too, Max. In terms of MMA, I mean, if you have a couple losses here or there, you're still going to be that household name, right? Like Conor McGregor, still probably the biggest fighter in the world. That guy's been knocked out a couple of times, you know what I'm saying, or he's been choked out. Where I think in boxing, where if you have that one loss, that can tarnish your entire career. You know, there's been a couple guys who have overcome that, obviously, like Canelo. I mean, you know, he gets beat very young by Floyd Mayweather, but I think Canelo's one of the biggest boxers in the world. But my point is, listen, to me, you have Mike Tyson. Like, that's the draw already. Like, that's what people are going to come watch regardless of Jake Paul or not. Now, don't get me wrong. Jake Paul's numbers on his boxing pay-per-views, they're outstanding. I guess my last question to you here, Max, is can that casual audience member, can they come over, turn on and watch Jake Paul, Nate Robinson, but are they going to stay for those other boxers? Are they going to stay for the professional boxers with the high skill sets, and is it going to draw their attention?
Well, here's the thing. When you're putting a card like this together, it's just economics. It's a simple economics. So the main event, you know, Tyson and Roy are making money, right? So if you are a fighter of high quality, that means you want to get paid to be on that card. But then the promoter wants to know, well, wait a minute, we were anticipating this many buys, and we already have to pay Mike and Roy all this money. If you want to get paid the way you say you want to get paid, what are you bringing to the table promotionally? Do we think we're going to sell even more pay-per-views, reach a broader audience than if we put you on the card? The answer for Jake Paul is probably yes, and so they work something out. But maybe for Ryan Garcia, if someone like that were available for a card like that, maybe the answer would also be yes. But for a lot of high-level professionals who are largely unknown, the answer is no, right? So on the one hand, they want to get paid as anyone who is very, very good at their craft and has a limited shelf life in their career wants to get paid. And on the other hand, they're not, because they're unknown, they're not bringing anything financially to the table, so the promoter doesn't want to do it. So he looks either for a cheaper alternative or for an alternative that brings something to the table so that they can get paid. And that's where, but on a card like this, this card is very much a novelty act. It's not, it's a seniors tour thing. It's not, I don't think people tune in with the expectation that they're seeing, you know, Terrence Crawford fighting Errol Spence.
Sure, yeah.
Max Kellerman, The Max Kellerman Show starts August 17th on ESPN all across the country, right here in Jacksonville on ESPN 690. Hey, man, we probably kept you too long, but appreciate you taking a few minutes. Good luck on the new show.
Thanks, guys.
That's Max Kellerman from ESPN, obviously on First Take, and now with his own radio show coming up, part of the new lineup. And the new lineup, go over it real quick. Obviously, Keyshawn, Jay, and Zubin. We had Zubin on in the morning. That takes the place 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Levitard and Stugatz, 10 a.m. until noon. Mike Greenberg show right after that. And then right into the Max Kellerman show, 2 to 4. Our buddy Fitz will be on with Spain and Fitz, 7 to 9 later at night. And ESPN lineup will wrap up with Freddie and Fitzsimmons from 9 p.m. until 1 a.m. A lot of fun catching up with Mike Greenberg Monday, Max Kellerman today. I got a little boxing talk.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time coming.
Hey,
I'm
by the way,
glad.
sometimes I'll be like, my defense is I'm just a dumb sports guy. Well, that's just me, dumb sports guy.
Yeah.
Max Kellerman's a Columbia University guy.
Oh no, dude knows his stuff, especially
Smart
in the world
guy.
of boxing. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to go Stephen A. Smith on him about this whole boxing conversation. We had a lot of time to do it, but I was getting ready for that rebuttal.
I like it.
Yeah,
I liked it. And he's had a fascinating career. He kind of gave us some of the resume. The resume's amazing and doing well, obviously, on First Take. Check out the new show, Max Kellerman Show, coming up August 17th. Continue to check out our show when we come back. Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Back to the Jags.
Men, are the effects of hypertension, diabetes, or prostate cancer preventing you from having a satisfying love life? In just one visit, the doctors at Prime Men's Medical Center can help you overcome ED or PE to regain your confidence and have you last longer in the bedroom. Name brand pills don't work for many men and can have serious side effects. The highly skilled physicians at Prime Men's Medical Center provide custom blended medications that are safe, effective, and work immediately, regardless of your medical history or age. You'll see results on your first visit, guaranteed, or your consultation is free. So, if you have problems in the bedroom, call now for a private consultation. One call, one visit, one simple solution to regain your love life. Call Prime Men's Medical Center now at 904-206-8105. 904-206-8105. That's 904-206-8105.
Security experts recommend that if you have a do-it-yourself alarm, don't use their alarm signs or stickers. Why? Because it tells crooks exactly which system you have, and some signals can be jammed with a common garage door opener. Yes, the equipment is built that cheap. It's not been tested by UL Laboratories, and the DIY company selling it has no license. They use a third party. It just doesn't measure up. That's why thousands of business owners and families trust SafeTouch Security. All SafeTouch systems are custom designed for each installation and installed by state-certified technicians and are covered by a lifetime warranty. The SafeTouch two-way communicator provides the fastest possible response time with an 8-second average. All monitoring is done from the SafeTouch 24-hour monitoring center, giving you peace of mind for you and your family. SafeTouch Security has been protecting you and your family like no one else for 35 years. Go to safetouch.com today for a free home consultation. State license number EF000233.